VP Kamala Harris has been very busy taking care of the important things like redecorating her office, and I'm not kidding. The San Francisco Chronicle did a whole puff piece on it titled "Kamala Harris has redecorated the VP's office. Here's the meaning behind her choice," and it goes into detail about the changes. Here's a quote from the article: "The room is warmer, painted a light shade of blue, and the patterned couches have been swapped for a nearly white set." It goes on and on. My question is, who gives a damn? Does anyone really care? Is this blue wall going to make my gas less expensive? Will these white couches help reduce the crime plaguing some of our nation's cities or help get toys under the Christmas tree? And they mentioned the meaning of her choices. What about the meaning behind her choice to ignore the crisis at our southern border? Is she still even the border czar? Is she looking for the root causes of migration? Well, one reporter, Peter Ducey, actually asked this at a recent press conference, and here's how Jen Psaki responded.
Is Vice President Harris still in charge of addressing the root causes of migration from El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala?
She is, and I just announced a commitment that she's announcing this afternoon.
Join me now, co-chairman of Project 21, Horace Cooper. Horace, it's great to see you. So, Horace, I'll ask you, how much do you care about the decorations in the VP's office? Like, I get that people say, oh, well, they can walk and chew gum at the same time, but actually they can't, and they're showing us that every single day.
Well, apparently this is not even as good as taking candy from a baby. This administration believes that we the American people, don't even have the ability to maintain simultaneous thoughts. We'll just hear, oh, look, pretty new office, and we're going to just forget about all of the major challenges and issues that we face. The truth of the matter is, not only have we not forgotten about how this administration has mishandled, nay, exacerbated the problems this country faces, but then they can take time to celebrate and to engage in pageantry and think that that's an okay approach just because it's approaching Christmas.
And Horace, you have to ask this reporter, her name's Tal Kopan, obviously a leftist hack. I mean, there's some real questions to ask, and she's asking about the meaning and pondering about the meaning of what these walls mean, the color of the walls, yet she's not pondering and asking questions about the meaning of Harris not visiting the border, not talking about the office environment that's been complained about, the very office that she's talking about the decorations in. And she's not asking questions about the approval ratings and what that means, why people are very unhappy with the Biden administration, whether it be their efforts on COVID-19 or the economy.
This drive-by media is doing such a disservice. You know, the way that Vice President Kamala Harris has performed, it would be fair to add a new definition to the word incompetent in the dictionary. Incompetent. You're a vice president. You can't carry out your responsibilities. You bully your staff, and you engage in cringe-worthy laughter at inappropriate times. It's remarkable to me that we can't actually expect our mainstream media to just say a few simple questions. You were named the border czar. Could you give us an update on what's going on? Also, in the history of polling of vice presidents, you score lower than any other vice president, including Dick Cheney, who shot someone while on a hunting trip. How is this possible?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, you know, a lot of people are afraid to even criticize the VP because immediately when you start to criticize her, you're a bigot, a sexist, a racist. You can't have a real conversation about her performance.
Yeah, you know, our friends on the left, and I use that term in a generous way, our friends on the left are really doing a disservice to the idea that women are competent, capable, and even equal to men. You work hard when you prepare for your segments. You try and strive to achieve. She, on the other hand, seems to just rely on the fact that her XX chromosome is all that's needed as a way of determining her fitness. No actual measure of accomplishments, no actual measure of achievements. Everyone else in the competitive environment, we have to study, we have to prep, we have to apply ourselves. Even her staff says that she's not willing to just stay informed on the very few issues that she's supposed to be working on. It's really a disservice to the idea that men and women can compete in America on an equal basis when you see someone who is making every single argument to say just because she's a woman, she holds this position.
Yeah, and then, we talk about the office dramas going on there, and that's common in administrations. People are in and out of administrations. That happens. It happened during the Trump administration. But I have to be hysterical and hyperventilate about it because the mainstream media did it every time somebody resigned under the Trump administration.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. No, that's true. The contrast is, but I will tell you that we were promised something different. We were not told that the Boston Marathon would last longer than some of her senior campaign or senior vice presidential advisors. This change, this transfer, the statements that are made on the record in the press, the alarming degree of gossip that occurs, and then this unfortunate thing that happened at Bob Dole's funeral where appeared to move President Biden away so he wasn't standing near her. These types of things are not on the list of things that we were told. We were told that there would be competence. We were told that they would be taking care of the big problems. All that I can see is if Americans are asked what are the big problems they face and who caused them, they will tell us what these big problems are, and they point to Joe Biden and also Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about this because I know it's ticked off a lot of people on the left. Biden's made a lot of promises, and same with Harris, and they're not keeping those promises. And now we're learning that Biden's not going to extend the student loan relief. And now some students are feeling betrayed. Now, of course, I don't think we should be paying off people's student loans. I think that that's just too much. And what about us, people who graduated and paid our own student loan debt? So I'm not against that. But just think about the promises that they made to young people, and young people taking on these student loans that maybe they couldn't afford, thinking that, Biden's got this.
Yeah, Project 21 actually met with the Trump education secretary, and we asked, why aren't we saying that we're going to pair Pell Grants and student loan participation with colleges offering degrees that are correlated with high employment? We're having a situation right now where the federal government, that's taxpayers like you and I, are going to subsidize, and I'm not talking about the giveaway, I'm just talking about the Pell Grants and the loan to start with, to subsidize. You pick whatever your little heart desires, and then when it doesn't support you, when you can't be independent, you're coming back and you're saying that we, the rest of us who had to suck it up, sacrifice, some of us had to work while going to school, that now we're supposed to pay for your poor choices? I think this administration has realized they've got a losing record in court. And they're likely, if they try to do this by executive order, they're likely to have yet another one of their executive orders struck down. So now they're stuck with, well, why didn't we go into Congress and why didn't we put this measure before the House and the Senate as a way to address it? I would have urged people to vote no for the reasons that I've just described, but at least you could have a legal basis for acting in this way. Now, what you have is a bunch of folks who supported this president because of all of the dreams and all of the hopes, and the lion was going to lay with the lamb, and it was going to be amazing. And even though I was an Elizabethan art major and racked up $250,000 worth of student loan, it's all going to be washed away and now I can go work at Starbucks and I can keep every penny. That's not a dream, that's a nightmare.
Yeah, when Biden said build back better, what is he talking about? I mean, I haven't seen anything better, if you will. And again, he said he was going to get rid of COVID-19, get rid of the virus, and that we'd be back to normal life. Hasn't happened yet. In fact, actually, things are getting worse. You look at the COVID numbers, the COVID deaths, more deaths in 2021 than in 2020, and we even have the vaccine. And so their strategy is just not working. And so, I mean, I see the polls. I'm always surprised that there's still even support for Biden out there. But I guess these are, diehard supporters, if you will. You mentioned Project 21. I wanted to give you a chance to talk about it.
Oh, absolutely. Let me just say this really quick. I don't refer to it as Build Back Better. I call it Building Back Bad. It takes terrible ideas that have never worked wherever they've been applied, and it puts into place the notion that America, Washington, D.C. knows better than you do. Project 21 is an organization that works assiduously to make sure Americans remember Martin Luther King's dream. People are to be judged by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. Our color, our skin color, tells us nothing about who we are as people, and we believe that the mainstream media and a number of racial profiteers have worked to create the impression that race is the best judge for how people can be determined and behave. We know and we advocate for this idea that Black Americans, and we really appreciate networks like this, Black Americans believe in saving unborn children. We believe in personal responsibility. We believe that government that governs best governs less. And that is so different from what you hear from mainstream media, and yet Black America, surveys say significant numbers, not 10%, not 15%, between 40 and 60% of Black Americans identify with the principles and the values that are so closely associated with what it means to be an American.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what Project 21 is doing. I mean, it's important that we have these conversations and you guys stick to the basics, the Constitution, life, liberty, our freedoms, and everything else. So we appreciate the work that you're doing. We did put up your website in case people wanted to learn more and possibly donate to your group. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with our audience?
So Merry Christmas to everyone. Notwithstanding Dr. Fauci, we Americans have always had the power and the ability of ourselves, black, white, and brown, to control our situation and our environment. We are heading into a new year, a year where we can take back control, take back responsibility. Our founders gave us the most amazing country in the history of recorded civilization, and it's up to us to maintain it. We at Project 21 are going to keep doing our part, and I'm hopeful that the rest of America will join us.
Me too. Well said, Horace. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
All right, Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.